Hello, this is Reverend Joseph Andrew Jensen. Today is like the 7th in 21 days, in 14 more days will be the 21st. The 21st, as I said, on Saturday I'm going to be at Joel Osteen's church in the parking lot Saturday, and I'll be there into Sunday morning. It's go to attend church Sunday morning. I'm going to hopefully have my son-in-law, my grandson, my real grandson, and my real granddaughter with me. He's a minister too, but he's a confused minister because everything I told him he did not accept, which every Christian on earth didn't accept it either. Okay? Now here's the thing. I am a Christian, but not a Christian. Okay? The reason I say I'm not a Christian is because not only did I find out by God led me to find out that Paul was the Antichrist. His followers were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know, Mark was an apostle, called himself an apostle, but he was never with Christ. The same with Luke. Luke finally was killed and bound and killed in Ethiopia. But the mob actually, and Luke died in 68 AD. Ironically, everybody died in 68 AD. Paul was killed by the Peter's mob. Followers, right? Matthew was killed in 68 AD because he was part of this too. You could tell that because of what they wrote in the Revelations. So the book of Acts and on all their books with the book of Acts and everything, it's written well. And they do all have some merit because they were all papers that were rewritten by Paul and them, right? They all rewrote the words from what they had learned, okay? So there is some merit to what's going on. The Ethiopians have their own Bible because they were the first Christians from the time that Jesus was in the manger from the three wise men. The three kings were named Hiddekel, Sabath, and Sabbatha. Okay? Those were the three kings, the sons of Cush. Okay? Now, what I'm trying to tell you, they were the first Christians. They have their own Bible and their own recordings of Jesus when all the time he was growing up. They were there and followed Jesus to the cross through people that would constantly do the same as they did with Muhammad. They stayed with them and they would return back to tell them what's going on, report back. So 2 or 3, 4, whatever, 2 or 3 anyway, would go and listen to Jesus and be with Jesus and be with the apostles all the time. And then one would return. And then he was replaced by another, and then the other one would return, and they kept that up over and over for 10 years with Muhammad. They did that throughout Jesus' life too, all the way to the time of the crucifixion, and even after the crucifixion. So some of them might have been there with even when they killed Mark, Luke, and John. You know, Mark and Matthew and Matthew and Mark were together with Paul when the killing started. Nero committed suicide that day because the Senate actually threw him out into the streets. We're going to throw him out into the streets. Before he got into the streets, though, he committed suicide. This is, look at your facts. All you people, what? Christmas Eve, 2023. I started by going to the New Springs Church in Anderson, South Carolina. It holds had an audience at one time of 33,000 people. But what happened was I was kicked off their lodge, not allowed to talk. And it is a seminary of sorts for all students, girls and guys. But it's a place where it's a college where people go get credit. What to learn, the stuff that they learned. And let me tell you what I found out. And this is just recently God's been put it together. And this morning he's really putting it together right. That's why I'm talking to you this way. Jesus called himself the Son of Man 82 times in the Bible. Jesus was not the Son of Man, he was the Son of mankind, as he was a man. There's the womankind too, but he was the Son of God. The Son of God, okay? Just like the God that lives inside you. If you're a girl, God lives inside you as a daughter of God. Why do I say that? Because when people have an outer body experience, they've always seen a person looking exactly like you come out of the person, the spirit. What is God? And again, go back to the beginning. God is life. Okay? So if God's going to take any form at all, it's going to look exactly like you. Now, what I'm trying to here's if you're going to make sense. God is going to create a world for us. Now, the quantum world will be looking for heaven forever, and they know where to find it. It's on the other end of a. It's on the other end of a black hole that's repelling itself further and further from this world. But hopefully, God's just going to change the distance between that black hole. The black hole exists. He's going to bring the quantum world and quantum world. He'll bring the black hole together, knock out the middle, so that they can just step right from one place to another. Everybody's going to experience that. Now, whether you're not going to be in a vacuum where it draws you in that night on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning at midnight. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be like that. It can't be like that because it would suck everybody in, the good and the bad. But what's going to happen is God's going to collect everybody, all the dead in Christ, the souls of the dead in Christ. Not the dead in Christ, but the dead in the world that never did any real harm. They were the victims of evil. Okay, the people that were the victims of evil and lived as best life as they could, and did not buy into the evil. That's where the first judgment starts. And they will be collected. It's called the rapture. Now, they said the dead in Christ. Okay, actually, I should say the dead, the good, the dead of that believed in God and Jesus Christ, that believed in goodness, that believed in good, not evil. Okay, they are collected, and they're going to be in this world. This new world won't be like our world because it's not been tapped. If it's gold, it's petroleum, it's uranium, the things that are good and bad in this world. We know now that we don't need petroleum anymore. We know now that I mean, we could run cars on water. When we find that, I've told you about the Stanley Myers and his brother Stephen. They ran, the distance between L.A. and New York City, 2,888 miles, or 800 miles on 22 gallons of water. Now you see, they're going to go with all their faculties, even those with Alzheimer's that will remember having Alzheimer's and dying of Alzheimer's. They're going to remember everything that happened to them. So what's going to go on? They're going to be able to go on. Who are they going to see? They're going to see Adam. They're going to see everybody that's written about in the Christian scriptures, in the Torah, in the Bible, the Quran. That were, I'm looking forward to seeing Muhammad and Khadijah and Zainab, Rosa, okay, was his second daughter. Then there was Kulthum, his third daughter. All three of those daughters were raped and kidnapped at very young ages. Very young ages. And they all died even before Muhammad in that situation. Now, it's kind of sad because all of them were too young to have children. They never grew up. They never grew up. They grew up under those conditions. And it's terrible conditions. The Ethiopians wrote the papers, and I have to go find those papers because exactly what I'm telling you is written. The Ethiopians wrote that down. The Ethiopians had those papers. It'd be more important for me to go to Ethiopia to find those papers of the records, of the testimony. Now, you know what I'm talking about when I say that, the law enforcement takes an affidavit of Muhammad testifying on what happened the day he reached 40 years old, and Gabriel called him to the cave of Hira and told him there is but one God, Allah. Anybody in this world that had a testimony like that, I would respect them to the ends of this earth. Muhammad says the saddest story and the most loving romantic story that's ever been written. Okay, and the saddest and the most romantic story that ever written. But Muhammad also wrote about Jesus and Mary. Mary's held in regard at Christmas, not even Christmas. Jesus was born sometime in April. The three wise men found him, during the time of taxes, which would have been like in the time of April. The taxes start, people start going to the thing right after in January. And so Christmas was a day that actually suited the cult on Sunday. It was a day of worship for, the people, pagans. Okay, let's put it that way. Now, like I said, the quantum world, you know where to get heaven will be, and everybody will know where heaven's at because, and hopefully, instead of someday the quantum world will be right up to ours, and God will take the middle out again for the whole world. Everybody after this day on the September 21st, 2025, they can't die and go back into DNA anymore. There won't be anybody there except for the evil. We're going to house the evil. We're still going to have evil within us. But we can't give our hands or feet, our mouths to evil. You see? You wonder where the bad spirits and the bad feelings and bad all this goes about. It lives inside us. It lives inside us. It manifests inside us. Okay? Through the gods. Now you can call them, don't call God inside you. I consider it to God in me. I write it in capital letters. GODS. Or GOD. I put an S when he's to him personally. Because he is a major God. He is God to me. Okay? But now these other gods are sons and daughters of God. I guess you still have to write it capital because it's still the son or daughter of God. GODS. But they acted like little gods. Okay? And they can still do what they're doing. We cannot allow that to happen. So Jesus gave what they call the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be great in the kingdom of heaven." That's why you're going to be learning martial arts. That's why you're going to conceal and carry. That's why you're going to learn to shoot for the hands and feet. This is why you're going to be a peacemaker, a peacekeeper. Yes, I am a peacemaker myself, and I'm going to be the peacemaker, the one that brings peace in the world. 3 or 4 generations go by. Remember when this happens on the 22nd, the United States will be charged $100,000 per God's coin, and they have to do it. Banks won't be able to cash any money. It'll have to be converted to God's coin. And so America will have to suffer to see $100,000. But most of the people don't have $100,000 in America. The majority of people don't have it. But it doesn't matter because everybody in America is going to get $100,000 for being born, even to newborn. And they're going to have their accounts written as long as they have their birth date, their birthplace, and their birth name on an account. It's going to be in an account in their name. And when they get 18, they'll get their debit card. And that debit card's going to pay for everything from a stick of bubble gum to a brand new home, to $1 million cars. Nobody's going to want to travel any airlines today. Why? Because nobody's going to fly economy. You're going to be millionaires. So right away, what I'm going to be doing is investing the money I have. I'm going to have a fleet of Airbuses, 380A Airbuses. The only people that are flying these 380A Airbuses today are the Emirates. Emirates is the only one. They quit making them because they have Rolls-Royce engines, very expensive engines, huge engines, but they're reliable. They're very reliable. And they're made in Europe. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to have a fleet of Airbuses that will be making luxury aircraft instead of holding 750 people, passengers. No, it's going to maybe hold 500. It's going to be a pure luxury airline, and they're going to treat everybody like gold. And my how you say, agency, which would be right now is ASAP Tickets, will turn into God's Air, and God's Air will be selling tickets, the most expensive tickets in the world, but what the world can afford it. And they're going to also be selling, putting people in the best hotels, the best places in the world, accommodations. That's the, and I'm not going to be buying Delta. I'm not going to buy Spirit Airlines. I'm not going to buy Turkish Airlines or any other airlines. Why would I want to buy used planes that are paid for economy? Nobody's going to want to fly economy. I don't want any of their equipment, but I'll keep their names and I'll buy them equipment brand new. They'll replace the equipment that they have brand new with luxury aircraft that are nowhere near as crowded. It's not, you know, it'll still be Delta, it'll still be under Delta, it'll still be under Spirit, it'll still be under Turkish Airlines, you know, Emirates. But, you know, basically I will have owned these airlines, you know. The CEOs, as I said, they'll be promoted. One will be promoted to get 5 God's coins. Overall, that business belongs to them. In that, whatever that's at. In other words, if one bank owns, we're not talking about ever have committees again. One's not going to be attached to the other. They're just going to be by themselves, kind of like, you know. There's going to be many presidents of individual banks all over the world. Just like there'll be many presidents of these airlines all over the world. But they're going to have brand new planes built by Boeing, by McDonnell Douglas, okay? This is trying to explain what's going to happen. I'm going to choose and pick what businesses I want. You think I'm going to let anything bad happen? Sure, I'll let some of the bars still be open in New York City, the best ones, and all over the world. Sure, every restaurant that's really, really good, I'll get, you know, they're going to get better because the people that own those are going to be rich and they can improve those conditions. But now, if a person's, everybody's going to be a peacemaker, working for me, for God's coin. They're going to be a peacemaker, basically. That's why you're kind of like a soldier. You're going to be a police officer. You're going to be a paramedic. And you're going to shoot for the feet and the hands. And you're going to conceal carry. Nobody's going to know what you have. That's why we're going to make sure at everybody's eyes this time. We're not going to ever let anybody get an evil thought, evil to come into this world. So those that own the pornography stores, all the people that own the bad clubs, sex clubs and things like that, no, this is going to be good. Everything's going to change. I'm going to only invest in the best. Because when a person starts building something bad, the evil continues with something bad, they got to stop it. It's not going to happen. And I'm not going to micromanage it. It's going to micromanage itself by the employees. They're going to, it's going to be themselves because they're going to say, I'm not going to stay here. I'll have to lose my job. God's going to lose my job. And the owners too. Because they're millionaires. They can start something that's, you know, you're not a scammer anymore. Check and go. You're not this kind of a thing that can cash on hand. You're not an insurance company. What do you need insurance for? Death benefits? Forget it. Car insurance? Forget it. We're going to be able to solve our own lawsuits between each other, just like Jesus said. Reconcile with your brother quickly, unless you bring in the law. You know? That's what Jesus said. We don't need the law, but we will be the law. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. This is what's understanding of what's going to happen the next day and why. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor, so they will inherit the earth," you know, or the meat and the meat. You know, I see. Well, I don't know the whole sermon really good because it's very long, but I do know about the peacemakers, and we'll be called great in the kingdom of heaven when we die. From now on, when anybody dies after September, they don't go back to the DNA. They go directly to be with Jesus in this world. Islam, understand this. Muslims, understand this. It's written in the Quran. Jesus is a prophet in the Quran, and Jesus was not considered God, in which he shouldn't be considered God. He's the Son of God. The Son of God, meaning he did not have a father. So he's the son of a woman. He called himself the Son of Man 82 times in the scriptures. No, he's the son of mankind. But he was the son of a woman. Okay? The son of a woman, Mary, a virgin Mary. The son of a woman, Mary. Think about that. God couldn't do such a thing. God, it's a wonder God only did that. This transition is no different than it happened 42 years ago when God created all the languages and confused the languages at the Tower of Nimrod. The Tower of Japheth's Tower is what they called it. Japheth was the youngest of the three oldest sons. And they were 100 years, 100 years old when Noah was 600. Okay? And they're the three that went astray. Japheth was the youngest, and he was what they call a Chaldean. A Chaldean means an astronomer who migrated to Persia because he spoke Persian. Persian was the first language spoken in Iran, and then Turkey, and Russia, Magog, Gog and Magog. He's the reason for Chinese, Asian. China is connected with even America. Russia is connected to China. To America by Kamchatka. Then it also borders Russia in the north. I'm going too long here, but this is what I got to testify to you. You could, people that spoke in tongues, you would have been obvious to you that if you read through the books of the Galatians, the theologians, Ephesians, Philippians, Corinthians, those 5 churches, you would see that Paul was discouraging speaking in tongues through Nero. He was discouraging. He said, it's better to prophesy, anybody to make up anything, than to let God speak in tongues. He didn't know, he didn't understand, neither did I, that all the years I spoke in tongues, and I spoke in tongues a lot. I spoke more words in tongues because I wouldn't pray to God in my own language. It's like I spoke to God in tongues, which was basically I give God voice. And he knew that he understood what I was talking about. But it'd be disrespectful for me to not pray in tongues. Okay, I'm going to go because things are going to get wide open around here. But this is what I'm talking about, been talking about. This is the reason, like I said, every religion, Islamic religion, Shiites, Muslims, they all, about Muhammad, were Christians, okay? And it's what Jesus was all about. Jesus went to prepare a place for you. It was God came to earth through Jesus. And then Jesus came here, that he had hands and feet and a mouth to be able to build heaven and earth. That's where he's been in this other world, preparing it with the animals, with the tame animals and pets that died. You know, he didn't pet the dinosaurs. He didn't pet the pterodactyls. He didn't put up with pterodactyls because everything living that was collected was the peaceful. Well, you can't say there's not going to be a dinosaur in his world. You can't say in anything, because there's no great flood to wipe them out, or for that matter, ice ages. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, let's go. I'm not going to get into it. I tend to overthink everything, and I have to go. I can keep on forever, but this has got to end. Good night.